on to more, well, slightly more humorous section of the evening, our topic session, and I will leave the explanation of this role to our topics master tonight, Mary Crowe.
So, like I said earlier, we're going to practice our impromptu speaking and thinking on our feet here this evening. So, I'm going to focus, I suppose, on the people who haven't had a chance to speak yet, and also I'm going to reduce add-ons to maybe 2, just to get through some of the topics and make it interesting for everybody. So I'm going to kick off with Carl from the Westport Club and ask Carl, what makes you smile? Where is Carl?
Madam Topics Master, hello everybody. What makes me smile? A smile costs nothing and it gives much. That's the beginning, the first 2 lines of a poem that I used to know off by heart, and I've now forgotten it. However, the sentiments are the same. I very much believe that it's important when I go for a walk, if I walk past somebody, I usually smile and I say hello. And there's a connection there. A few weeks ago, I was in London and I did a long walk along the towpath of the Thames. And I could not wait to get back to Clifton after that, because nobody looked at you, nobody smiled, nobody took any notice other than walking along like this. And a smile costs nothing. It gives much. So if you can't give a smile, if they can't give a smile to you, then you give a smile to them.
No add-ons there. We'll move on. Mary Carr. Is Mary here? You'd want to be living under a rock for the last few weeks. I listened to heard that the most talked about book is Spare by Prince Harry. However, Mary, what's your favourite book recommendation?
Thank you for the topic. That's a hard one. A favourite book, because there are so many books that are favourites, I suppose. Stuck for a second just to think. Well, a book that has been a favourite of mine, I like all the classics, I must say, and enjoy them. And I've reread books. And I think when I reread a book, I get more out of it the second time round. So what is my favourite? But that's a very hard one. I also read, so I suppose I can tell you that. I read plays because I'm involved a lot in drama and directing plays. So I read plays very much. And during the lockdown, we read lots of plays on Zoom to make ourselves familiar with them. And it kept us going. Every single Wednesday night on Zoom, we read a play. And it was very interesting and it was very enlightening, and it also reminded us of plays that we had done already but enjoyed all over again because we were reading them, sharing it on Zoom. So the play I enjoyed most, I think, was Lend Me a Tenner, which is a farce and is absolutely daft, like all farces are. And I think we laughed and laughed and laughed about that, even though we were just on Zoom, we were all in our own homes looking at it. the printed word. But was that a bell? That bell, and I opened it up.
Add-on over here. Pat, is it? Thank you.
I'd like to put forward a candidate for the most useful book of all time that I know about. And what it is a book called The Art of Thinking Clearly. And it's written by Ralph Dobelli. And what's really great about it is it's short. And the chapters are even shorter, otherwise they wouldn't all fit in any more than one of them. And they're maybe 3 pages long, and I know you don't know what size these pages are, so that's kind of irrelevant, but you can read a chapter in a few minutes, and each chapter deals with an aspect of thinking that we get wrong, that we've, through evolution, or for various reasons, we have thinking errors. And he then will give an example. And the one that comes to mind, which I find very useful, is apparently this was developed, this idea was arrived at and was used during colonoscopies. That's probably somebody ringing a bell just saying, get that guy off the stage. And what they found was that when somebody was kind of half asleep, half awake, or any kind of painful, unpleasant thing, was what Rob referred to. There's a peak-end rule, where you remember the highlight, the most, in this case, painful, or in a case of a holiday, the most enjoyable evening of your 2 weeks in Torremolinos. You remember the best night and you remember the last night. So you should save about 3 nights worth of holiday budget for the last night, because that's the one that you remember. And likewise with colonoscopies, you want to make the painful thing not at the end. And they deliberately do this with colonoscopies. You don't believe this, do you? But they do. If it's very painful towards the end, they still hang around a while longer saying, oh, we still got stuff to do. And then you don't remember it as being as painful, and then you'll agree to go for the next one. Apparently, so I hear. And where this is useful, I'm sorry, I'm running way over time, but I don't care, is if you're washing your dog, as I did this morning, because he got really covered in muck, and washing his head is the part that's really painful. So think colonoscopy, dog. I didn't give the dog a colonoscopy, but he really hates having his head washed. So I always do that kind of, not first, but definitely don't do it last, because you'll never get the little bugger back into the bath again. So it's a useful book, The Art of Thinking Clearly. It doesn't cover dogs, and it doesn't really cover colonoscopies. It's written by Ralph Dobelli. Go and buy it. You can really buy it.
How do you follow a colonoscopy? I can't. But for me, when I think of a book, The Colour Purple comes to mind. And I can't remember even if I've read it. I know the movie, I know I've read the book, but it's been so long that the only concept that came from the book for me was the idea of the colour purple. And for me, my hugest takeaway from this book, which is why I want to give it to you today, is that the author, Alice Walker, gave one of the characters the idea of the colour purple being where our spirituality is, where our soul is, where our God is. God wasn't a man in a chair, he wasn't white, he didn't have a beard. He was in, or she, or it, was in the colour purple in the field. And that's my book.
Gosh, we're getting warmed up now, aren't we? So, Dolores, often we think about and look at people and go, gosh, don't they have a great life? Wouldn't I love to be them? Who would you like to be for a day?
I'm trying really hard to be me. And sometimes I'm not the me I want to be. I'm short-tempered, and I'm abrupt, and I'm rattled. But that's not the real me. The real me is a lovely person. You'd love to meet her if I could get her to come along one of these days. The real me is just so compassionate and full of love and warmth and affection. The me that comes out most days is an efficient person who can get things done, who can deliver messages clearly, and who can put people on the spot. But that's not the real me. The real me is the lovely, lovely girl. She's also about 40 years younger than this version of me. So if I had a whole day to be the person I really want to be, I would be Dolores Brady version 2. And anybody who refers to themselves in the third person and includes their name is a fake. And never believe a word they say. We discovered that about P. Flynn when he started talking about P. Flynn. And that's one of the yardsticks I use. So I'm fairly real. I think that is the first time ever I have used my name when I've been talking about myself. So I'm working really hard on finding a gentler, easier, calmer, less efficient version of me. And I'm getting there. And I cannot believe that the timer has given up the job.
15 seconds to go.
Keep digging. But if I had the opportunity to spend a whole day being somebody else, I'd be the nicer version of me.
So for our final topic tonight, Siobhan. I was watching the darts very strangely this Christmas, and before I dipped in and out of it, but this time I really got hooked on it, and I was absolutely blown away by the final. It was a fantastic event. What is the annual televised sporting event that is an absolute must-see for you? Where is Siobhan? Oh, this is Siobhan.
Well, it's funny that you should mention darts because I have 2 sons at the moment who are darts mad, and they've been watching the darts. But not only have they been watching darts, we have a dartboard, and they've been constantly firing darts. That dartboard just happens to be positioned just outside of my room, my bedroom. So I have to knock on my door to come out of my room because I hear the ping, ping, ping of these darts, and it's on the way to the toilet as well. So they just can't go from one room to the next without picking up the darts and throwing them. And I think the whole spectacle of playing darts now is just amazing. It's fascinating. I was fascinated to find out that people could sit and watch people play darts, but I did it at one stage, and the whole excitement, the music of it all was just really fascinating. If I was to choose a sport that would be the highlight of my year when I was younger, it probably was the All-Ireland finals in football and hurling. I was into that a little bit because I had 5 brothers, so it was hard not to be. But I think today, and it's not an annual event, unfortunately, it's every 4 years, I believe, the World Cup. The World Cup soccer final of just over a month ago. Hands up who saw it. Wasn't it just unbelievable? It was amazing. I know soccer is not the most exciting sport, but I think I love watching the World Cup, and I love getting excited about it, picking a team, picking names out of a hat, and just supporting a team and going with that. So it's not very exciting, but that's what I would go with. Thank you.
So earlier on, our Toastmaster challenged you to think of a sport more boring than fly fishing. Darts, tennis, golf, cricket, I hate them all. I find them incredibly boring. But the one annual sporting event I will watch every year without fail, and I will book time off work to do this, is the Eurovision.
When you bring up the idea of picking one annual sporting event, it reminds me of a story of my brother when we were growing up. Now, I'm one of 4. There's 3 girls and a boy. And my brother very much likes sports. He was, in fact, a Liverpool fan. Liverpool was everywhere in his room. It was red. He had all the articles up. His curtains were red. The light was shining through was red. But he loved any sport at all. Snooker, football, anything. And for 2 to 3 years, he had my mother convinced. This is only on once a year, he'd say. It's only on once. This is the championship. And by God, he got the television. The next month, this is only on once a year, he'd say. Oh no, it's only on once. It's not going to happen again. It's not going to happen for 12 more months. He'd get the television. The fight, the television was on. 2 years in, we logged it. We clocked it. We said, hang on. Soccer happens every day here. Snooker happens every year. And now we're adding in Olympics every 4 years. Then you have the World Cup and. So the sport that I like to watch every year is Star Trek.
Thank you, everybody. That ends our topic session. I'll hand it back to Toastmasters.